Hello, JPU family. Welcome to another episode of Jamaica Politics University. So, today, guys, as you can see in the title, how Peter Bunting lost his only chance. And I'm talking about his chance to be the opposition leader or maybe even the next prime minister. As you can see, Kamala Harris is now the frontrunner and the candidate for the Democratic Party to be the next president of the United States. And she could very well become the next president and the first female president, as she was and is the first female vice president of the United States. So the chances are very high for her at this time. But I'm making this comparison because of how Kamala Harris came to be the Democratic nominee. I have to make the comparison because it's the same situation with the PNP. Kamala Harris, in comparison to Peter Bunting, she did not jump the gun and she did not try to step on anybody to get where she is. And there's a certain way that we go about things in life so as to not harm other people and harm ourselves. This applies in every aspect of life, including in our careers and in politics. She was not standing behind her leader, waiting and watching her clock, waiting for his clock to run out. She had her leader's back in the most genuine manner. The president knew that and he respected her for that. More than having her leader's back, she understood that she could not do anything to compromise her party and, by extension, the country. So she stood there and she did what she was assigned to do, which was to be the vice president of the United States. When people started calling for Joe Biden to pull out of the re-election campaign for the next general election coming up in November of 2024, I was watching Kamala Harris's socials to see if she would have publicly joined those calls. But she did not. She supported her president and her leader as president of the United States as he was doing his job. And I really admired that about her. It was reported that Chuck Schumer paid a visit to President Biden at his Wilmington home in Delaware. And he basically said, Mr. President, based on the political landscape, it's probably not a good idea to go into the next presidential election. The president said, give me a week. I'll think about it. And it didn't take him long. He thought about it, thought about what's at stake. He thought about the role that he had to play as president to make sure that he did not disrupt his party, that he did not cause himself any harm and cause the country by extension any harm. So he came out and he wasn't bitter about it. I don't know what he said in private, but publicly showed no sign of bitterness. He immediately came out a week later and endorsed his vice president and asked everybody to join them. The truth is, everybody in politics has political ambitions to become better, to do better, to climb higher, and that's natural, that's normal. But one must be able to control themselves and to temper their behavior, not destroy other people and destroy themselves in the process, and by extension, destroy his or her political party, which could destroy their country.
Kamala!
Hello. Hi.
Hey there.
Oh, hi. You're both together. Oh, it's good to hear you both.
I can't have this phone call without saying to my girl Kamala, I am proud of you. This is going to be historic.
We called to say Michelle and I couldn't be prouder to endorse you and to do everything we can to get you through this election and into the Oval Office.
Oh, my goodness. Michelle, Brock, this means so much to me. I am looking forward to doing this with the two of you, Doug and I both, and getting out there, being on the road. But most of all, I just want to tell you the words you have spoken and the friendship that you have given over all these years mean more than I can express. So thank you both. It means so much. And we're going to have some fun with this too, aren't we?
And with that, she's had the blessing of every member of her party, every senior member so far. And she's raised record-breaking funds. I believe within a matter of days, she raised over $100 million. Ladies and gentlemen, that could have been Peter Bunting. But Peter Bunting did not have patience, respect. He did not have a sense of decency, decorum, didn't think about how his actions would affect others, himself, his party, by extension, his country. Bunting may have heard some criticisms about his leader, and right then and there, he set out to overthrow him.
We looked at some polls that Donna Anderson had done, so commissioned one ourselves, or I commissioned one.
Yes.
And, it was clear. He's not the man for now, him time pass. Mm-hmm.
What a sad situation. But we know the outcome of that. He ended up with his polls as his guiding light, challenged his leader, and ended up losing. Not only did he lose to his leader, he also lost his seat as a result. Because what he did has never been done in the history of politics in Jamaica, where somebody challenges their leader 1 year before an election based on polls and perhaps opinions. Now, his leader hadn't gone into an election yet. He was 1 year away from the general election. And honestly, Bunting should have supported his leader, supported his party, or at the very least, bring home his seat. That's how we win elections in Jamaica. Every seat counts. He couldn't even bring home his own seat, but he went ahead and overthrew his leader. And the disaster that followed, big embarrassment on him. And we see the condition of the People's National Party as a result. He told himself that he was the man. Yes, he was the man. And he had his pollster and everything. And see there, the leader ended up come defeat him wickedly on his birthday to boot. And then the new member of parliament, Rhoda Crawford, also defeated him. So Bunting made no contribution to try and help his party win an election. This is what Kamala Harris did not do. Can you imagine if she had approached it this way? Because she hears some people saying that her leader should not go into the next election. Suppose she did run out and come to a Bunting though. The entire Democratic Party collapse. At them time, the Donald Trump would have win. But Bunting never calculate in him head and say, no, me nah go do this. Make him go on in the election. Me go support my party and the chips will fall where they may. But no, then go conspire and then go plot. And even after the fact, with his friend now in the leadership of the PNP, the situation is still dire. That is where it is right now. If Peter Bunting had done things the right way, he would have inherited the leadership of the PNP and probably would have been the opposition leader right now, probably would have a seat and probably would have looked for be the next Prime Minister of Jamaica. Because when his leader was going into the election, after the challenge and everything, he told the country that he had been diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer and he was undergoing treatment and things like that. No. If Bunting did play him part and encourage all of the other MPs them who take up and follow him and lose for them seat too, if them did play them part and win them seat, maybe the PNP would have in a government. Or, worse comes to worse, if the PNP did lose, then Bunting could have stepped up and say, him want to be the leader. And everybody would have maybe just coalesce around him. And he probably would have had more support. But he just made everything bitter by what he did and his actions, And if he had just done things the right way, it would have worked in his favor so much. Just like how President Biden, took his time and thought about it and realized that, listen, I am going to pass the baton, and he would have no problem passing it to Bunting, or some people may have thought would have been okay to be the next leader. Now, Bunting for a man who don't have no political popularity and all those things that comes with, being a leader, charisma and all these things. Him have to use humility for substitute for that. For people like him and to be a likable individual and for people to respect him. But he doesn't have humility. And that is why we saw the disaster and destruction of Peter Bunting's political career. That was his chance, and that was his only chance. He does not have another chance after that. As we can see, he's in the Senate because his friend put him there after him lose his seat. But he has no chance. He lost his chance of becoming leader of the opposition and Prime Minister of Jamaica. Humility is one of the most important human characteristics. It's taught from childhood. You're looking at Kamala Harris here and her great-grandmother on a veranda in Jamaica, in St. Ann, Brownstone. And guys, when we are taught during childhood, humility, respect for authority, respect for our friends, our co-workers, our fellow human beings, it goes a long way in adulthood, in our careers, and how people treat us and how we treat other people. Very important from childhood. That lesson of humility must be taught and it must be received. And I think that is where Peter Bunting fell short in life, where he destroyed himself, destroyed people around him, destroyed the People's National Party. Kamala Harris's father is an award-winning professor. He moved to California at Berkeley in the 1960s to pursue a PhD in economics. And he's still alive today. But he's a man of humility. And coming from Brownstone, St. Ann, raised primarily by two Jamaican grandmothers, he had no choice but to learn humility. And I think he passed that down to his daughters. His name is Donald Harris. He wrote an interesting article called Reflections of a Jamaican Father. I encourage you guys to Google and read it. You will see the humility in his family, in him, which was passed down to his daughter. This is a very powerful image right here. Let me know what you think in the comments, guys. Do you think that Peter Bunting's political outcome, could have been much different, much better, had he done what Kamala Harris did, which was to hold her position, perform in her position, and be respectful and supportive of her leader until the condition changed? Make sure you are keeping it locked here to Jamaica Politics Uncovered for all your political news, reviews, and updates. Take care and see you in the next video.